inside. Boston going to work. Scores off the backboard. 4 seconds to go. Boston to Hull. Left wing. Fires a three. Good! Hull heads with .3 to go in the third.
All right, Danielle. Well, we are doing a special edition second podcast this week because, wow, what a week in the WNBA. Kind of started at the end of last week with Cheryl Reeves, and Napheesa got injured on the foul by Alyssa Thomas, which was clearly a foul. I don't care what
Which,
the
by the
officials
way,
say.
yeah, the NBA official account decided to weigh in on the situation, which they don't ever do. So very shady business.
Yeah, I mean, it was a foul. If anybody, I was telling somebody, any pickup game anywhere in America, they're the guy's going to call a foul. Like whoever Napheesa the, playing pickup with Alyssa Thomas, Napheesa would have called a foul. When you're calling your own fouls, it was a foul. And of course, Cheryl Reeves went crazy and then went nuclear in her press conference,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of started the week. And then,
Yeah, and to follow up to that, um, so you had the four teams in the semifinals, and Becky and Steph White both voiced their support for Cheryl, and said, yeah, she's right. Um, this is a problem, it's an issue. And Cheryl gets fined by the league $15,000, which is 6 times higher than the highest previous individual fine ever.
and
And then
suspended.
and suspended for a game. And then Steph and Becky get fined 1,000 each.
And yes, and so
And
you've had
Nate Tibbetts says nothing.
yeah, and you've had this simmering theme throughout the year of even going back to last year with Caitlin Clark's rookie year, where all of us Indiana Fever fans anyway were saying, "What is going on? Why are they treating her like that? Why is the league letting her be treated like that?" There's been this simmering kind of low and fire, or if you will, kind of a metaphor. And then it's kind of like Cheryl Reeves poured a little gas on it. And then this week, Napheesa Collier came out and just dumped a whole bucket of gas and threw a bunch of matches on it and said, I'm just going to blow up this whole thing. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
good.
amazing press conference. I'm 100% on Team Phee on
Hmm.
this, but wow, that
It was
was something
amazing.
else.
We thought Napheesa was MVP on the court this year and probably should have won MVP. Definitely MVP off the court for sure. Yeah, just amazing. And like she's really the perfect person to do it. Like, how can you dislike Napheesa Collier? She's like so calm, she's so reasonable, she's such a good player. Um, yeah, really, really, really good person to do it and did it in a perfect way.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing and it dominated social media, it dominated mainstream media. I mean, just everybody talking about the WNBA, ESPN talking heads who wouldn't normally maybe spend a lot of time unless they're talking about Caitlin Clark, talking about Napheesa. I mean, yeah, she came out and she just said, I'm bringing all the receipts. I'm going to tell you everything that's been going on behind closed doors with the league. And
Hmm.
I thought, when Cheryl Reeve publicly called for the removal of the supervisor of the officials, I thought, wow, I've never heard anybody say such a strong comment against a professional sports league anytime, anywhere. And Napheesa said, hold my beer. I can up that. I'm going to
Yeah.
call our commissioner the worst leadership of any sports league in the world.
Yeah. And she's not
Wow.
wrong.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, it's hard to disagree with her.
no. So I just rewatched it today and she talked about like a lack of accountability, not caring about the players or the product they put on the floor. And that like when she has talked with Cathy about officials and what she's gonna do to fix the reffing and the physicality, Cathy's response is only the losers complain, which is so lame. It's not responding to the issue at all. And when you have someone like Napheesa, who she's been top three probably top two. Was she top two last year in MVP voting? She was probably two the last 2 years in MVP voting.
Should have been, yeah.
Yeah. Like when one of your best players is coming to you with concerns and you just dismiss it and say, "Oh, only the losers complain." I guess just bad leadership. And then the comments she said about Caitlyn and Angel and Paige. So Nafisa says that asks Cathy what she's going to do to fix the fact that you have these young players coming in who are driving so much revenue. And you can say whatever you want about Angel and her game, but there's no doubt that she's contributing economically to the league. I saw something that apparently she made 6 figures on the Me Bound shirts. So
Uh,
like these people are bringing eyeballs, they're bringing
yeah.
fans, they're selling merch, which the players don't get any money from the merchandise, which is crazy. So Cathy's response was what Nafisa said. Cathy's response is that Caitlyn should be grateful for even being able to play in the league because without it, she wouldn't have a platform to make I don't know, it's not clear, was it 16 or $60 million off the court?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just pretty shocking to hear. I think everybody was like
Yeah.
kind of mind blown. If you think of the mind blown emoji, think what commissioner would say that to the vice president of the Players Association? I mean, not just
Hmm.
second best player in the league,
Yeah.
arguably, but the vice president of your Players Association coming with concerns and questions and sounding so dismissive and so arrogant.
Hmm.
If
And
Fee's
delusional.
delusional, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, but I have no reason to think Nafisa would make stuff up. And
No.
why would you publicly come out and lie?
Right.
So I have to, the logical part of my brain says I've got to believe what she's saying is true. I just
Yeah.
can't think of any
And
reason why she would
no.
lie in that case.
Right.
There's no reason for
It
it.
doesn't make any sense for her to lie. And like Nafisa's someone we've been watching since her freshman year of college.
Right.
And like you've seen her be a good player and a good sport and everything for 10 years. Like I just don't believe. I'm very inclined to trust Nafisa. But it's also just delusional and it's shocking that she would say that, but it's how it feels that the league has treated Caitlyn.
Yes, I think that's fair. I think it's not just that we trust Nafisa, it's also that it kind of aligns with our experiences, Indiana Fever fans and fans of the WNBA, wondering what in the world is going on with this league. It kind of aligns with
Right.
reality that we've seen with our own eyes.
Yeah, and even yeah, it's not it's shocking, but it's also like, well, that checks out. And it doesn't make any sense. Caitlyn had, I think, a $15 million offer to go play in like what's the big three or whatever coming out of
Right.
college. I think the sponsors, she had a COVID year of eligibility she left on the table, and the sponsors wanted her to go back to Iowa for another year, but she was ready to go pro. She would be making money with or without the WNBA.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, she is a generational player in terms of truly generational player in terms of bringing eyeballs to a sport. I mean,
Yeah,
people have
it's
compared her to Tiger Woods, what he did
mhm,
for golf, the popularity of golf in America. I've compared her in this moment in the WNBA history to when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came into the league. And I mean, the parallels there to me are because I'm a basketball fan and not so much a golf fan, where I go to. But, they started drawing, just like Caitlin Clark, they started drawing eyeballs in the NCAA tournament, and, Caitlin made the national championship 2 years in a row, but, you know, Magic and Larry Bird in 1979, they played each other in the national championship game, kind of like Reese and Caitlin Clark did in Caitlin's junior year. And so, it's just so the parallel to me is Magic and Larry Bird. And
yeah,
the NBA was super smart in how they handled promoting them, really. I mean, they had a little more history, but the NBA was not the most popular, wasn't very popular at all. I mean, they were the playoff games in the NBA back in that time in the 70s were like being shown on tape delay like at 10:30 at night. I mean it's like, we didn't have cable TV back then, so there wasn't, the option of streaming on Peacock or streaming, it's just like you had ABC, NBC, and CBS. But the NBA was so not popular that they were they wouldn't show the games live a lot of times, playoff games even. But Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came around, and the NBA really was smart in how they handled it and how they promoted them and promoted their teams, and started growing the sport, got all kinds of viewership, and the whole arc of the league changed with that, and they were really smart with how they handled it. And it just doesn't it has felt like from the get-go that they have not handled Caitlin and what she's brought to the league nearly as well as the NBA handled the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson situation.
Yeah, not at all. And like not protecting like the WNBA, they protect a couple stars, but they do not protect like they should be protecting Caitlyn so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's annoying when players get a favorable whistle, sure, but you've got to do it. You've got to protect Caitlyn. Yeah.
Well, part of the reason you do it is you just let the other players know we don't want you beating up on the superstar because
Yeah.
and I mean I've talked to you about the Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas Pistons just beating up on Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
and sometimes even the NBA didn't handle that as well as they could have probably, but Jordan was so spectacular that he was able to eventually beat them. But yeah,
But
I
they
mean,
just allowed, yeah, it's just been crazy, the amount of physicality that has been allowed to happen to Caitlyn. And it's a league-wide issue as well. It's not just Caitlyn, but the fact that this is your star, this is someone who's brought in literally millions of viewers. You've seen viewership go up across the league. And that's, yeah, it's a lot. It's not only Caitlyn, but it's hugely, hugely, hugely Caitlyn.
it's mostly Caitlin. I
Yeah.
mean, um, Dallas doesn't move their games to the American Airlines Arena
No
when
one
Angel
moves.
Reese comes to town, right?
Right.
I mean, it's only when Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark come to town that they move games. It's mostly Caitlin. I
It's
mean,
mostly, yeah, it
it's
is. It's mostly
Paige
Caitlyn.
is popular, Angel's popular, but like it's 90% Caitlin. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
And it's like, it's a positive thing. Like, there's this weird, like, that somehow it's bad or it subtracts from the other players, that Caitlyn is great and that Caitlyn gets so much attention. But literally, you hear all the time people, oh, I came because of Caitlyn, but now I'm a Fever fan. Or I came because of
yes,
Caitlyn, but now I love Asia and Napheesa and Stewie.
right.
Um, so, like, just bringing more eyeballs is so positive for everyone and it affects the bottom dollar for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make, I mean, there's something, I shared a podcast with you where they were talking about this whole idea of there's a little bit, I don't know what the right term is. There's a little bit of fragile egos or something, or thin skin with the WNBA, where you feel like, there's in sports, there's just a lot of times where people are boisterous for their team, and you have sports hate, right? Sports hate. Boston Red Sox fans hate New York Yankees, and yeah, it's just you don't really hate the person. It's just how you talk as a sports fan, right? And it feels like even in the WNBA, you can't say um, something like, "Oh, Caitlin's great," without all. Well, so is Angel, and so is Paige, and so is this, and so is, and so is, and so like it's for some reason you can't. It's almost like that tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of, in Asia, like you don't want to be the tall poppy and stand out. You're going to get chopped down if you stand out from the crowd. It's almost like the WNBA has tall poppy syndrome, and they've got a generational opportunity to build their league like never before. And Caitlin Clark's going to be the driving force of that, like it or not. That's reality. So how do you deal with that reality? And they haven't dealt with it well. And I think to get back to Fee's statement, it's clear it aligns, and we all kind of nod our heads and say makes sense because that's how they've been treating her.
Yeah.
They've been very dismissive in how they've treated her. They haven't tried to
And you,
protect her,
yeah,
tried to
you
think
even
about her as a valuable asset to the league, and so Fee's statement just seems very believable.
it does. And like you even think, and people on the internet have been frustrating in the way they've handled comparisons with Paige and Caitlyn because Paige has been treated better than Caitlyn, 100%.
She has.
But people on the internet have come out and they're bashing Paige because of that. Like Paige is not the problem here. The league is the
Right.
problem. Like even the way they did the Rookie of the Year award, like they did this whole setup. Paige went on the Jennifer Hudson show, and Cathy shows up and surprises her in person. And last year, there's a video that the Fever post. It's literally Cathy calls Christy Sides and puts her on speakerphone and tells Caitlyn that she's won Rookie of the Year. It's
Wow.
like that's pretty different. That's not the
Right.
same. And like, why are you not? And like there was one hater who voted for Reese for Rookie of the Year, so it wouldn't be unanimous. And like, why, as the commissioner, like you had better be treating Caitlyn good. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous not to.
It's just good business sense. I mean,
It
you
is.
got the goose that's laying the golden egg right there in front of you, and
And
it's
she's
kind of like,
supposed to be a business person. That's supposed to be her main thing. But like just the disrespect, the other kind of appalling comment that Phee said is that Cathy said that they should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media
yeah,
rights deal that she got them. And argued
wow.
like almost everyone when they came out the numbers said like that's too low. It doesn't make sense because it's packaged with the NBA and the NBA gave them like I think 8 billion out of 200 billion dollars. And it's like the numbers are not that different. It's a shorter season and the viewership is lower, but the Fever outperformed multiple NBA teams this year.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Last year too, I'm sure. And the Valkyries probably did as well. So like pretty much the immediate reaction was that it was probably like at least 4 times less than what they should have gotten.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a terrible deal for the WNBA. It's a great deal for ESPN or whoever
Yeah.
got that deal. They made out like bandits, but yeah, it was a terrible deal. And what they should have done, like the WNBA should have demanded, we want a very short-term deal because we
Yes. Not a 10-year deal.
yeah, it's ridiculous to lock in the numbers for 10 years right on the cusp of your league is exploding and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a bad deal and they
Yeah.
could have gotten so much more or they make
And
it a
just
10-year deal and say we want an opt-out option in 2 years because
yes.
we're really growing. This could be something huge and we think that these numbers aren't going to be fair 10 years from now. We'll lock it in for you for 10 years or we want an opt-out option after year 2 of this deal to renegotiate because we think the numbers are going to be crazy and you're going to be stealing money from us by
Yeah, but
if
also
we're keeping
just
the
like
same
the
money.
the attitude and the arrogance and like just to say like oh they should be on their knees thanking her
Yeah,
for it is ridiculous. Like who
it
does she
is.
think she is?
Yeah, and again, I mean that's Fee quoting, right? Her, and so we
But
weren't
she
there, but
didn't. So in the
so
press
yeah,
conference
now we can
yesterday,
switch over to her response on Friday.
yeah, because so in the someone asked her directly about that quote first, and she just did a little dance all around. Well, first of all, after Napheesa's, which going back to Napheesa's comments, kind of the other thing that she really brought up is the lack of like human care and connection. That like
Mm.
Cathy never reached out to her when she was injured, and like her number two, the only thing she's heard is from Cathy's number two, who sent her that they don't believe that there's a correlation between the officiating and injuries, which is ridiculous.
Suck it up, Buttercup. We don't care that you just got hurt.
Yeah,
But
loser.
right.
Like it's
But
so
yeah,
ridiculous.
and then Elena Deladon came out with a statement, right? Saying,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not even sure if Kathy knows I'm retired because I haven't heard anything. I mean, this is like an
Elena,
all-time great player
all-time great,
retires.
multiple time MVP, champion, 50, 40, 90
Uh,
season.
A smart commissioner would have said, "Hey, are you guys going to let's hold some your team, the Washington, are they going to hold a celebration? I want to know about it. I want to be there. I want to talk on behalf of the league about
Yeah,
how
future
great."
Hall of Famer, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you should be helping to drive. We need to honor this player and thank her for her
Especially if
contributions.
the like part of the whole thing with Caitlyn is like Caitlyn there has brought in a lot of new fans who don't know the history. And a
Right.
lot of people hate on Caitlyn and Caitlyn fans, and by extension, Indiana, because of like kind of the lack of historical knowledge that they have. But then it's like the league's job should be to educate them. It would like the league could, it would be so interesting if the league would put out like every month, like a mini movie on like a previous championship team. Like
Mm,
I would watch that if you're like, oh, here's the first our inaugural season. Here's a little movie about how they got there and who won and the players. Like that would be interesting. Like they could, the league has a responsibility to educate the uneducated about them. You know, it's not a million new fans aren't gonna go and dig up old archives. Like the league could be proactive and say, hey, let's celebrate some of our old players. Did you know
right.
about Elena Deladon? Did you know about
Maya
Lisa
Moore.
Leslie? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's one thing. And then the initial response was from Cathy was just like a very bland statement.
Right.
That's like, oh, I have the utmost respect for Napheesa, and I'm disheartened by the characterization of our conversations,
Right.
which is really weak. But
Yeah.
yeah, then
And
in her presser last night,
which
someone asks, oh yeah,
right before game one of the finals,
yeah,
right? I mean,
which I guess is
immediately, like,
normal. I guess it's a
yeah, but
normal.
it's
I guess
just,
that's a tradition, but
but I mean, given the circumstances, like it was
yeah,
probably, again, just not the greatest decision to say, hey, we're going to wait and address. You know, you're going to be asked that question. If you're a smart leader,
yes,
you know people are going to ask me, and maybe I don't just keep this tradition of doing it 30 minutes before game one of the finals because it's going to totally distract from the game, which it has.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
all of this has drowned out everything about the games
Yeah.
since
And I
Fee's
think like
statement,
Nafisa literally called for her job, basically called for her job.
basically.
Said that she had this she said they have the best players, the best fans, and the worst leadership. So I
Yeah,
mean, that's saying that it's not cutting it, it's not good enough.
yeah,
And then just to put out a statement, like she needed to do a video immediately. Not, I mean, you can take a day to respond or whatever, but she should have put out a video because a statement is just so impersonal, and that's part of the accusation against her is
mm,
that she is impersonal. But then also, yeah, they should have done a press conference, and maybe it has to be over Zoom, and that's fine. Do a Zoom press conference to address it um, sooner. But
yeah,
yeah, so in the press conference, then she's asked about the on their knees quote, and she doesn't say no.
right,
She just dances
right,
around it and says, like, oh, there's a lot of inaccuracies out there.
yeah,
But so
yeah.
she said it. She definitely said it. There's no, if she didn't
It's
say
hard to
that,
conclude anything else.
yeah,
She would have flat out denied it if she hadn't said it.
right.
Because she
And
did
then
deny one thing. What was the one
she only
statement she
denied the
did deny?
Caitlyn thing.
The Caitlyn about the
But
money.
that, it's like, I wonder, she said, of course, I obviously didn't say that, which it's not obvious. I don't know why you think that's obvious.
Yeah, not to
Uh,
us, Kathy. Sorry.
no, but with that, it's like maybe she didn't say 16 million, right? Like there's probably like a technicality or something, or she's just lying. That I would not be surprised about that either. But it was pretty lame. In her prepared statement, it was okay, and she did acknowledge that the game, she said that there's like not alignment from the stakeholders and the league in terms of how the officiating is handled, and that it has become rough play. So I think
Yeah,
that's, well, we'll see. So far, it's just words, but
yeah,
Holly Rowe asked a question about like, okay, and they're making a committee to review it and whatever. But Holly Rowe asked, like, well, what about the next 7 games for the finals? And she kind of didn't really answer that very well. Um, but yeah, I think like her prepared statement was okay, but when she was answering questions, like one of the things she said when they asked her about the on their knees thing, she was like, oh, a lot of inconsistencies. And I have a family and I have children and they're upset about it. And I'm a person too. And she's
yeah,
been in business for 40 years. Her children are grown. Like I don't know what that has to do with anything.
yeah. That's falling back on that trope about the WNBA can't handle any criticism or praise of one person. And it's kind of like you gotta be tougher than that if you're gonna be the commissioner of a sports league.
Yeah.
You know, this is not kindergarten care. This is like a professional sports league, and the spotlight is bright. You're talking about millions of dollars. Fans have a very vested interest in it, and you know, fans aren't always polite, but you just got to be a lot tougher than that if you're going to be the commissioner of a sports league. Yeah, it hasn't been a good look for Cathy this week. It's got to be one of the roughest weeks ever for a sports commissioner in any
Yeah, and
sport.
someone asked her about the Connecticut sale because that's been a controversial thing as well, that the
Right,
tribe who owns it wants to sell it and they have offers for $350 million, which, by the way, it's ridiculous that the WNBA and the NBA are still saying, oh, the WNBA isn't profitable. And business people are buying teams for $250 million or
right,
more. It's
right.
just inconsistent. Like, it's obvious that they're just fudging the numbers to make it seem unprofitable.
It sure
Everyone,
seems that way. I mean, there's no way to tell. It's not transparent.
right.
There's too much
But
overlap and
business people,
intersecting.
NBA owners are the ones who are getting this,
Right.
like they're the ones who are getting the expansion teams. So they're not gonna be, if they really thought that the WNBA was draining money from the NBA, they're not investing in a quarter
Hundreds
of
of
a
millions
billion
of dollars.
dollars
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
expansion teams.
yeah. I mean, it's really unfortunate. If there's one thing I could change about the league, wave a magic wand and change, it would be to somehow magically disentangle the WNBA from the NBA and just say, we
Yeah.
need a fresh start. This league is, thank you for helping
Yeah.
create this league and get it up on its feet. But everybody involved with the NBA needs to sell their stake at a fair price and just get hands off of this
Yeah, and
league.
use the expansion fees for that. The players aren't seeing any of that. What have they brought in basically $1 billion in expansion fees? The players aren't getting any of that. Buy the
Yeah,
NBA out, or at least the amount that Cathy sold in the capital raise when she became commissioner. Because yeah, it's too much and it's just too confusing. The leadership
it is.
structure, the ownership structure. But what she said is like about Connecticut was like, oh, they're still trying to make us what's the best strategic decision that they can make. But basically, it sounds like the league is saying they're not going to let them just sell it to whoever they want. And the league offered to buy it for $250 million, but they have an offer on the table for 350
Yeah,
$100,000, and the
250
league is trying
million.
to, yeah, $350 million, and the league is like, well, we'll buy it for you from 250, and like not letting them sell it to
Hey,
whoever they want.
I'll buy it from him for $150 if you know.
Right.
I mean, if you want to take lowball offers. I mean,
Yeah.
that's makes no sense at all. Yeah, so this quite a week for
Yeah.
the commissioner for the league. I mean, it's really I hope, you know, the league will be able to figure your way through it. But I mean, it's a mess. You got the after this finals, then you got the CBA is going to be expiring. It doesn't sound like they're close to agreeing on things, and now you've got this week of
Yeah.
setting the house on fire and burning everything to the ground,
Yeah.
whatever metaphor you want to use. I mean, I just don't see how they're going to quickly come to an agreement given the current environment.
I don't know. I wonder, I don't know if it's possible, but like, could they just do a 1 year deal? Although I guess that's messy because then everyone's on 1 year contracts again. And so that's not ideal. But yeah, it's tough because it's like Cathy needs to go, but is it feasible then to bring someone new in to get the CBA negotiation done at a reasonable time so they can do the draft and the expansion? And really, they should not have expanded this quickly, I feel like, is another issue. But yeah, it's messy. It's a tricky situation, but I think Cathy is done, or she should be.
Well, I agree, she should be. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I just don't see how you come back from this week
No.
as a
And
commissioner.
especially because like so many players kind of chimed in their support of Napheesa.
Right,
And it's obvious that um, it's not just Napheesa. It's not just the losers. Even Asia had a really strong comment after the game on that day, that she was disgusted by the comments. And um, Alyssa Thomas said no comment, so that's not surprising.
because she likes the rough play, and
Yeah.
it's to her advantage that those things don't change for sure.
Yeah, we listened to the Sue Bird podcast with Ryan Rucco, and that was a really
Right,
good listen. And I think they hit a couple things on the head where Sue has been saying for years that there's no reason to have 6 fouls in the WNBA. They just have it because the NBA does. And that
right.
happens so often, it feels like, in the WNBA, where they just do random stuff because the NBA does it.
Mm,
but not with the pay structure, but with other random stuff.
right.
But yeah, it's a 40-minute game. There's no, an international has 5 fouls, college has 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's just an extra foul for the physical players to hurt your star player with.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
if you get 2 fouls in the first half, you have to play pretty carefully. Um, and Ryan said the main thing if he could emphasize one thing would be freedom of movement,
Yeah.
especially for the guards, which I do wonder is if that's why the league has been so dominated by bigs, is because it's a
Mm.
little easier to move in the post when you're getting fouled than for guards.
And they do tend to call shooting fouls more than off-ball fouls.
Hmm.
So if you get the ball in the post and you make a move and you take a shot and there's physical contact, they tend to call that more than
Hmm.
just they've seldom seemed to. I don't know, are all three referees just ball watching? I mean, I don't know. They don't, or they intentionally telling them just let them grab and hold. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know,
know.
but that's really that does make sense why the post players maybe have been historically dominant,
Yeah.
because if the league has been so physical all these years,
Yeah.
that would make a
And
lot of
Rossi
sense.
was the last guard to win MVP in 2009, and she was a pretty physical guard.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, yeah.
So, well, another thing that Sue Bird said in that podcast was she talked about in 2019 when they were preparing for the Olympics and they played some college all-star team or something and
Yeah.
they lost or they lost to Oregon.
Oregon,
They
yeah, yeah.
maybe they're doing a barnstorming tour. They were
Hmm.
touring around playing college teams. They lost to Oregon, the
With
WNBA
Sabrina and
All-Stars did.
Satu and Ruthie Hebert, all those
But
guys.
she was saying that, a lot of the same officials officiate NCAA women's and the WNBA, and that they agreed on this tour that they would play by the college rules. And she said it was so different from how they were used to. And those officials officiated the game by those expectations. Then it wasn't as physical, and you had to be careful. And Ryan Rucco then mentioned Paige's quote where he said, we were interviewing her before game, and she unprompted by us just said, "Yeah, I've had to learn to play defense now and foul while I'm playing defense because of just how physical the league is, essentially."
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's clearly not just uh, one person. It's not just the losers complaining. It's
Right.
the reality of how the league has been officiated. And I think we talked about this last week in our podcast, but it makes no sense to me when what is bringing eyeballs and attendance and interest to the league is Caitlin Clark, who's not a physical player, who needs freedom of movement, who plays a brand of basketball that is just based on skill, not based on physicality. And you would think the league office would say, huh, people seem to like this. Maybe they, maybe we shouldn't play rugby on the hardwood, and maybe we should change how we call the game because look at what's happening when somebody comes and starts playing basketball like this. I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
just can't understand what universe you would be living in to not be able to see that what's
And it's
happening.
not even people like they were very unprepared for Caitlin, but there was no reason to. Like
Oh,
Iowa took over the world her junior year, and they were
right.
selling out everywhere for two
Yeah.
years before she went to the league.
Oh
They
yeah,
had time to prepare.
she was a phenomenon while in college. They should have been thinking about that in preparing for it. And yeah, so but I mean, you and I agree 100% with back to Ryan's statement about freedom of movement. That's what we want to see. We want to see pretty basketball, right?
Yeah.
We want to see skilled players allowed to demonstrate their skills without being grabbed and held and pushed and shoved and jerseys grabbed and arms hooked and all the stupid physical play that's allowed to go on, especially away from the ball. Let there be freedom of movement. I mean, basketball can be a beautiful game when you watch a team that's allowed to move, pass the ball, play, demonstrate their skills. I mean, it's a great game and it's a lot of fun. And that's what's gotten people excited is to see the unique skill set that
Hmm.
Caitlin brings and
And in a lot of
Paige
ways,
brings.
the women's game is more fun than the men's game when it's movement and pretty things, because the men's game has gone so much to just the athleticism and the
Yeah.
ISO ball, that pretty women's basketball is more enjoyable. We watch a lot more women's basketball than
Oh
we
yeah,
watch men's
because of that. Yeah,
basketball.
that's what we enjoy. Clearly, that's what The average American enjoys it. Caitlin Clark has become a phenom for a reason. That's what people want to watch. So WNBA's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just really both hopeful and concerned at this point. I'm hopeful that Phee has started something that will lead to the change that they need to have because it seems like nothing was going to happen. No amount of coaches complaining in press conferences, no amount of injuries happening to players, no amount of, you know, Caitlin Clark is popular and you have to move to a different arena. But when a super physical player like Alyssa Thomas comes to town, the Dallas Wings don't go play at the American Airlines Center because tens of thousands of people don't want to come see Alyssa Thomas's style of play. I
No,
mean,
I'm
she's a
curious
great
to see
player, but
what.
it's not the style of play that people want to see.
No, and even Ryan Rucco also said in Sue Bird's podcast that Nate Tibbetts says what they need to win games is physical, or what was it? Basically, defensive physicality. If their defense is physical, that's when they're going to win games, and
Yeah.
that's just frustrating. And he's the only one who hasn't spoken out on the whole thing. And Alyssa Thomas also no comment. So that's not surprising. Alyssa Thomas is able to be as successful as she is. She's skilled. She's a great passer. She's has good court vision in a
She's a
lot of
great
ways.
athlete.
Great athlete, but she is successful because she's allowed to play in a way that basketball is not meant to be play.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating that they're in the finals because it's just not pretty basketball. Um, and so we're hoping Vegas wins because they at least have really skilled. Phoenix has skilled players as well, but they're at least trying to play a cleaner style of basketball.
Yeah. Vegas is less physically uh, abusive than Phoenix is, but
They
you
are
know,
too.
they're pretty
But
physical.
it's like what the players go as far as the refs allow them to go.
They will.
And so the league has to get it under control. And if they were officiated well, Minnesota beats Phoenix 9 games out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, one question for you. Say Cathy resigns and you are made commissioner of the
Mhm.
WNBA. What's the first move that you would make, or first two things? What are the most would
Uh,
be at the top of your
well, I
agenda?
mean, the CBA is kind of the pressing thing, right? And from what I understand, the big holdup, it sounds like the W has been willing to do big increases in salary, but just not giving them revenue share. And revenue share is what the players seem like they're really after. And yeah, it seems very reasonable that they would get that. So I think that would be a big thing. And then I think, yeah, the officiating is kind of the main other thing that you have to clean up and protecting players and safety. And I mean, they probably need to look at the schedule. Also, I think one of the reporters asked Cathy a question about injuries, and I think they said injuries were up 36% this year, um,
Right.
and like what the league plans to do about that. Yeah. So I mean, I think yeah, officiating and getting a good CBA, but then like it just feels like the WNBA is so poorly run. Cathy kind of said it like it was a positive thing that she's done, that there's so many more employees in the W now. But it's like, what are they doing? And they're just all bad at their jobs, it seems. Um, so I don't know. It's like they just like stuff like teams going to Iowa for the preseason games is like such low-hanging fruit that it feels like the marketing could be better. It seems like there's just so many things you could do to grow the game. And yeah, it feels like the league is whatever success they have is in spite of the league, not because of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really true. It's unfortunate, but true. I do hope that we'll see a change in the leadership
Yeah.
structure of the
What do
league.
you think? Is there something else you would do?
No, I mean, I can't think of, I think you covered it. I mean, clean up the game, make it a style of play that new fans clearly are enjoying with Caitlin Clark, and, don't go down to the lowest denominator of super physical basketball that's, and so I think clearly the CBA is the most pressing issue if she resigned before the CBA was settled. But I mean, I think that I would like to, I don't know if they all use NBA arenas, and so they're kind of locked into having to play in the off season. Of the NBA, it'd really be nice to, if the long term, one thing that I would want to explore is could the WNBA shift its season to play when basketball is normally played
Hmm.
during the winter? Could there be a way to make that happen? I don't know if that's a
You don't
realistic
think
thing.
that would be too much competition to college basketball and the NBA?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be. Personally, I'm not an NBA fan as far as, I don't watch NBA games.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a different audience. Maybe it's not, but I
Probably
prefer
mostly is, but yeah.
I prefer women's basketball to men's basketball
Yeah.
nowadays. I'd rather watch the IU women or the UConn women than the IU men.
Yeah.
Um, and historically, IU men's basketball is my favorite thing to watch. I've never been as big of an NBA fan as some other people. I've become the way I follow NBA is I find players who I like. It was
Hmm.
Larry Bird in the 80s. Now it's been Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers. I love the way they play basketball. I don't tend to just like, I haven't had a favorite NBA team my whole life where I have every other sport I have, um, college basketball, Major League Baseball, NFL. I've always had a favorite team, but my fandom in the NBA has been more around individual players and
Hmm.
enjoying watching them. I think the basketball lends itself to that some because you got five players on a court with football, everybody's in helmets and it's and baseball is a huge field and people are spread out and the NBA lends itself to connecting to one person more. And I think that's what we've seen with Caitlin Clark, right? And so for me anyway, it wouldn't be a conflict, but I don't know. Maybe I mean that's a good question. Maybe it wouldn't work, but yeah, there needs to be something. I mean, they're just like it feels like willy-nilly expanding the schedule. I mean, is that really the best thing for the league right now? I mean, in theory, it brings them more revenue, but it's also Caitlin
But are
Clark.
the players don't get paid anymore, right? So,
Well, so far they haven't. That's why they went revenue sharing instead of just
yeah.
salary locked in. So yeah, so I think so. Back to your point, that would be the only other thing I could think of. I would kind of like this would be long term and it wouldn't be the top priority now or the most urgent thing at all, but like what would be the best thing for the WNBA to be successful long term?
Yeah.
Is it maybe the answer would be no, playing in the summer is still the best. But I would really that's one thing I do as a commissioner is say let's think strategically. Where do
Well,
we want to be 30 years from now?
yeah.
What do we have to do to be a successful, great professional sports league in 30 years? And let's look at everything,
Hmm.
ownership, schedule, timing, how many games do we play? I mean, just look at all those things and um,
Yeah, the
come up with a
scheduling is so
strategic
bad where
plan.
it's like 6 games on one night starting at 9 p.m. for no reason.
And they all started. Yeah, they all started. I mean, I'd want to come up with a strategic plan for. We understand that the WNBA for X number of years has had to operate like this, but we think we have an opportunity to operate like that
And
instead.
even if you think about like working better with, because like college women's basketball has been so much more popular than the WNBA. And so thinking about both ways to engage the college fan base more,
Hmm.
but also like it's brutal for rookies who are good and they're playing through the Final Four. And then it's like, oh, you're drafted and now you're playing in 2 weeks again after
Right.
just playing a 6 month season in college. So potentially either trying to get the W or the college to move the Final Four back a weekend because they typically have like a week off. Like the conference tournaments are like a week earlier than the men's usually, and but then they still play the tournament at the same time as the men. So could the women shift theirs back a week, or should the W even start before? And then like the rookies aren't on the team till the next year or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all those kinds of things. Like that's like a really good point. That's another issue that's problematic, right? No sports league has somebody that same situation where they have a player coming in immediately after playing, a 6, 7 month season, and then boom, you're joining a new team and you're expected to play another 4 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that there are injuries, when with that kind of stress on somebody's body. So
Oh,
yeah.
the one other thing we didn't talk about is that apparently they're suspending all awards until Cathy is happy again because they were supposed to come out with like the all defensive team a couple days ago and they just haven't. And presumably it's because Napheesa's on the all defensive team and that's awkward. But that'll be
Oh,
interesting to see how they resolve that. Yeah.
wow. Coach of the year also? Or
Coach of the
that,
Year
they
came
already
out
announced that. Oh, they
and
already
she
announced that.
mispronounced Natalie Nakasi's last
I
name.
did hear, yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I think we talked about this last week, but it's hard, especially with the comments that have come out with Napheesa's statement, to not think that the W pushed very hard for Napheesa not to win MVP this year and not to be in the finals. It's really hard not
Yeah.
to be a little conspiratorial because she missed 11 games. That's 25% of the season. But Paige missed 8 games, which is pretty close to that. And she won Rookie of the Year in a landslide. I think Citron
Yeah.
got maybe 2 or 3 votes. But so it wasn't a problem to miss 8 games, but it was
Right.
a problem to miss 11. And it wasn't such a big problem because Napheesa got almost all the second place votes, not all of
Right.
them, but
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just hard to believe.
Well, we talked about it before Fee's statement even
Mhm.
that, is it because of the unrivaled league and her involvement with that and a perceived threat to the WNBA? Is there some bias against Fee? Yeah, we definitely talked about that because
Yeah.
it seemed like a conspiracy theory at the time. It seems less conspiratorial now and seems
Yeah, she's
maybe
been
like
having these
it's a
conversations with Cathy and
right.
they haven't been going well. I think Nafisa said she's been trying to have these conversations in private and it's not working, nothing's
Yeah.
changing because she
Yeah.
felt like she was backed into a corner, had nothing else to do.
Yeah. So yeah, what a week for the WNBA.
Yeah. And I think
Not
this is how the season's going to be remembered. Like Vegas, Phoenix, who cares who wins? I think if we look back at this year, we're going to remember Indiana winning the Commissioner Cup and having a great season despite everything, and we're going to remember Napheesa Collier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're 100% right on that. Only Vegas fans or Phoenix fans are going to remember whichever one of them wins the championship will say, "Oh, that was the highlight of the year." This has become the story of the season for sure. I mean, Cheryl Reeves too. I mean, she kind of
Mhm.
you don't want to minimize.
No.
Uh, she kind of went on blast too, but yeah, Fee's
But
statement just
I
kind
mean,
of overrode that.
we agree totally. I mean, how often do we say, fire everyone, give us their jobs, we could do it 10 times better?
Right? Yeah, yeah, we do
Everyone in the
say
league
that.
is terrible at their jobs except the players and some of the coaches.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's a good. There's still games to be played. My interest has waned immensely. I'm not. I'm kind of. I think I told you guys in our thread. I'm probably gonna not watch any of the games just to do a mini boycott of. I don't want to give them my clicks or my viewership numbers. I'd like to see, you know, there be an impact after Nafisa's comments, and that's the only impact. I could write a letter to league office. I don't think anybody would care. But it's like, yeah, maybe I just won't watch the games. I'll read about the games online, so
Yeah.
ESPN will still get my clicks. But yeah, I'm probably not going to watch any of the games to comment much on them. But yeah, I think you summed it up well. That's what this season will be remembered for, and hopefully the off season will go better. We can get a CBA and we can get things settled here. But there are more games to be played still, so we will keep talking WNBA for a while, but soon be shifting, I assume, to college basketball, and very excited to see that. I think that's going to be a fun year in women's college basketball. So yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be still talking basketball. All right, well, I think that's it for the W Hoops podcast today. Everyone, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment or a review, and we'll see you next week.